One of Moria's favorite songs is Panis Angelicus, which is the bread of angels. We meditate upon their bread and on that perfect bread which Moria brings us. Ladies and gentlemen, attention! For I am the Darjeeling trailblazer. And now there come to mind those words I penned so long ago. The trek upward is worth the inconvenience. Now you know just what I had in mind. Welcome to the end of this trail and this trek. Welcome to the very heart of our inner retreat. For I have had my eye on this heart and this sun for many, many a century, when it was a wilderness, when the land was not even peopled, before its discovery, or even the ancient coming of the Vikings. Long before, from the heart of the royal Teton, or the heart of Sanat Kumara, I saw the destiny and the future of that race. And that race is indeed something that can be earned and won. For the whole meaning of Christ our Lord is that the crumbs of the Lord's table may also be for those who are first servants in his household and are yet to become his children and joint heirs. The possibility of the inheritance of the Christic light of all evolutions is this mighty message, whereby each one in whom there is the I Am presence, by the very preaching of the word, can convey the sparks that fly on a summer's evening, sparks from a campfire here at our ranch, sparks that fly into the sky. They disappear in the night, but some may ignite a heart that begins to beat for him, for him. You all remember the story of Pinocchio, a path of initiation of the winning of a heart. Thus, blessed ones, who can measure the heart of any soul or of a man? For only God does know. The wise assume that the heart requires the burning lamp. The wise assume that not knowledge alone, but a fervent devotion harnessed to a love star. And then, of course, the will to be. The will of the tiny grasses and forget-me-nots and many wildflowers. The will in every life. You find that will in the heart of every part of life that beats with a cosmic heart, with the central sun. Therefore I welcome you to the place of the heart, which I dedicate in this hour to the path of the initiation of the heart. Let none enter here who will not feed my sheep. Let none enter who will not give to my sheep the true soul nourishment, those who cruelly transfer not the leadings of the soul, but a dead doctrine, a serpent philosophy that leads the nations to self-destruction, destroys their economies, and makes all the world to know the meaning of hopelessness when hope should abound, for he lives and walks yet with his own. I welcome you to the retreat of the 7 Chohans of the rays, for we have somewhat to speak to you in this hour of the world's turning, and it was necessary to have a place apart that you might see the perspective of the cities of the plain. How low and far below the vibratory level of the etheric plane do the cities of your own homes seem. The places of your embarkation seem far away in this hour. Why, you almost have the perspective of the angels who grace the mountain tops. Is this not a little bit of heaven? For some of you, it has been many a year since you came apart, not only in the spirituality of the contemplation of God, but in a place of nature when and where the overlapping of the aura of the teeming cities has not been within at least a few tens or hundreds of miles. This is not only far away from Los Angeles and New York and Chicago, but it is also a secluded spot and sealed that you might know what it is to live in the etheric plane for a while. It is like the first step into a conscious remembrance of the Ascended Master's retreats. You are not far in space or inner activity from our Royal Teton retreat. All of a sudden, it is like the contemplation of the stars, the trivia of life, the problems and the burdens resume their lawful perspective. They are far, far away in the valley, and you are in the mountains of God, here to contemplate life and destiny, and what you will do with the flame that God has placed in your hand as the gift of life and another tenure upon earth. As you look into your campfires, or into the stars, or into the eyes of the messenger and beyond, it is well and good to think about the distance of past and future, and then beyond these into the recognition of the personhood of God with you as the Emmanuel that is your real self. A vision of immortality is my gift to the messenger and to you. For I awakened her one night this very week to sense the limitless quality of our abode, where thoughts instantaneously become action, and the density of flesh does not deter the buoyant spirit from the will to be and all those things you planned and saw as the purpose of this life. I recall you to the ancient tablets of Mem, the soul's memory and all that God has written for your destiny. I recall you now. For some of you it is the hour when all that follows hence must truly be in alignment with the perfect self. Many changes are in order for earth, but of these you ought not to be concerned, but rather dwell upon the changes in order for your own life. For only if you change, you see, will you ride the crest of the wave to victory instead of to self-defeat, as some have already done. There is a power in the four elements that is an initiation itself. The land rejects those who try to possess it. The land rejects those who lack the givingness of the ever-flowing stream. The land is typical of the ruggedness of the path of initiation, and that there are lessons to be learned if you are to embark upon a wilderness trek. You may easily liken the spiritual path to preparation to face the most rugged conditions of earth. The intrepid mountain climbers and those who hike and camp all over the world are those who are in training for a higher and even more rugged spiritual path. You meet them in Nepal or in Alaska, at Mount Hood or Rainier. Each makes his choice as to how high he can climb. Climb the highest mountain is a challenge to climb the highest mountain that you can climb. And therefore, year upon year, is a new vision of a new mountain you never knew was there. You have already seen mountains you have never seen before, and these have translated to your souls the vision of other goals. Each one of you needs a little bit of weaning from city life, a little bit of consideration that after all, the cities have come and gone, have disappeared, continents have sunk, and they shall rise again, but the soul moves on to its fiery destiny. The plains of Mamre are the plains of the ancient memory of Sanat Kumara, the backdrop of the Middle East, the austere country, man against the sky. Here you have a more succulent vegetation than some parts of the Middle East, though the tall cedars of Lebanon have always been a source of the contemplation of the majesty of God. I come then with my heart full of gratitude as a chalice brimming over at the lip, that you might drink of the water of a mountain stream near Darjeeling, where I like to go in the Christmas snow that lasts a good part of the year, and see the flowers that peep through, and the life that is yet vibrant, that yet rings with the determination, as across the Himalayas we view Tibet, China, and millions of people who know not yet the meaning of the igniting of the heart with a Christic light. Here then, as I sit with you in an old armchair, I would speak to you concerning your own personal analysis of your future and your path. I ask you to make your own personal and family feasibility study in consideration of economic, educational, and cultural opportunities that may be found as the crow flies from the inner retreat in a number of directions. I ask you to consider alternatives that you may not have considered before. Tempest Fugit, I observe the turning of the stars and the cycles of a cosmic astrology. I see the amalgamation of the light bearers in one lighthouse of love. I see a powerful beam that is a beacon to the nations, and the tribes of the I Am race will see that beacon because it has a great magnitude, a great mantle, and the sacred fire that blazes can be seen because you have understood the law of the one, that many heart fires produce a greater candle fire than many separated across the miles of earth. We are here to make a statement. You have chosen to be born to make your statement. And some of you, your final statement as your final footprints on this earth. Some of you, at the conclusion of this life, will never again walk this earth to leave a physical footprint, but only blaze a fiery trail, perceivable by those who are the sons of fire. Therefore realize that when all the world is an amplification of noise of one sort or another, making a statement is a mighty test indeed. The statement of the I Am race must be as a banner of Maitreya billowing from the mountain, a statement of the I Am presence and the logic of each one's unfoldment of the inner logos. When you are a part of the Dharma to make this statement, you must realize that it is a collective statement. Those of us who are a part of the Great White Brotherhood realized long, long ago that our stamp upon the material cosmos could be made only as we would find ourselves one in this eternal light. No single vessel of identity contains the all in the matter spheres, but many cups filled may approximate a single note of the infinite. Therefore, beloved, the inescapable Dharma is the inescapable collective. But our collective is never a commune. Our collective disappears into the mystical body of God as Christ is one in us. And not one cell of this body forms a lump of discord protruding from the perfect sphere. Discord and displeasure among the brethren is the sign of the intrusion of those who have not the seed of light. Beware the discordant ones and the complainers who crack the whip upon the chelas and complain when they make one fault, who they themselves do not enter in to sweat and toil for the raising of the canopy of our tent. Beware those who come with the sense of injustice into our midst, who point the finger, but bear not themselves the burning lamp of justice, and who fear to contain in the belly the smoking furnace that would have long ago consumed all their injustice and made of them a worthy vessel for the Lord. Beware the spoilers then, who demand perfection in the flesh when they themselves have not the perfection of the heart. Let the law reveal then, and let those who have sinned be self-revealed and quickly turn from their condemnation to a brighter love, a more perfect love, and an understanding of bearing one another's burden. Would it not be music to our ears if one would say to another, "Brother, I fear that perhaps the problems of your recent service may be the burden that you bear. Let me carry your karma for a day, that you may go to the hills and pray and be with God and be refreshed and be nourished. My brother, you have served and worked long in the Lord's vineyard. Now let me take thy place for a day. Go, be with the angels. I will keep the flame." Would that not be then a gracious way of letting another know that perhaps the burdens of the hour have brought him not to an excelling expression of his own Christhood? And then, of course, you see how much virtue would come to you to understand the initiations of another that are not your daily meat. The tests and tasks of other chelas might be far too hard for those who consider themselves so advanced along the way. Let us change garments for a day, not for etheric octaves, but with one another, and thereby learn a measure of compassion and flow, the ability to interchange and be ready to man any post of the watchman of the night. And in this flow somehow to understand that the mystical body of God is oneness of hearts united. No task too great, no chore too lowly for anyone to perform. Oh, the sweetness of our sweet communion when heaven and earth kiss in the heart of the Chela. Why, much more of this heaven, and you will say to me, Moria, what need have we to ascend when all is here? And our bliss is so great in the inner retreat. Well, my compassion for thee, my beloved, is that you have labored long in the weight of the karma of the cities of the world. Some of you live and move and have your being, not in Horeb's height, but in the auras of 10 million life streams and their entire karmic evolution. God has not saddled you to this beast, but rather accorded you an opportunity and a path. You must not lose your head and drop everything and run to the inner retreat. Life is not so easy in these parts. You must understand how to carve out of the rock a way of life and a livelihood for your own loved ones. You must move with study and care and consideration and a level head. This is why I have used the term a feasibility study. There are a number of towns and cities as well as farms and ranches. There are many services needed and goods to be produced that are the mutual requirement of a community of light. I am still waiting for those who share the dream of a type of utopia to realize that many of the elements of the path of Chelaship do contain some of those considerations that I set forth in my life as Thomas More, as both challenge and mockery to the inequities of that hour. In that book you can read and go beyond to a realization that as I had a vision of the etheric cities of light, so did Francis Bacon and many more. In each of you is a divine memory of other octaves and a longing for a golden age. And all know that the beginning of that age is love. And therefore you know that the age of Aquarius, as the age of the love of Saint Germain, must surely be the sign of the coming of a new horizon and a new life wave. Why not be the forerunner? Why not have it here? Let only those who love such a dream with all their hearts even try. For if you have not the love of sacrifice for a goal and a dream, you should be of all men and women most miserable in the unceasing task of the building of a community of light. I do not summon all, but only those who have the understanding and an inner fiery furnace whereby a heat is generated. The snows are cold in winter, and the winds that blow, and those who love the winter are those who have the internal fire. And in the snow and the wind they see not the cold, but the fire itself. To them the snow is sacred fire, and the inner heat is a source of warmth and the burning lamp of light. Thus you see, God made a rugged climb for pilgrims. Rugged lands of Tibet and of other centuries and continents have summoned those who are not the lazy serpents sunning in the tropical heat, for they have no heartbeat to provide them with the inner glow. You must therefore understand that fallen ones tend to gather where the life is easy, and the individuals who are looking for something else than more and more materialism come apart and find in nature that which the greatest technology of all ages, which you have not even seen in this century, could not afford. The heights of Lemuria and Atlantis, when devoid of the mother flame, came tumbling down. Only those who have the power to endow matter with a flame can successfully use technology to conquer matter. And those who have not the flame build in vain. To take then the best of a dying world and the highest of the world to come, to synthesize the old and the new, and to understand the soul perched upon the mountain. The flight upward is into God, to delve into the mysteries, and the descent is for the more perfect union of spirit and matter on earth. May the violet flame in you all transmute that which can be transmuted in every area of the world. May the resourcefulness of those who drink in the prana and magnetize the fire of the rock be able to reinfuse America and the world with a new grace and a comfort and a light. But I tell you, ere the world is ready to receive the fullness of the Lord's cup, changes must come about. I have seen the measuring rod given by the angel to John the Beloved. Do you know, beloved ones, that in the archives of Almighty God it is known the exact count of individuals upon earth who have sworn ultimate defiance of the Almighty unto the end of their own limited destiny? Do you know that there is a vow so intense that has been taken by millions upon earth to never, never bend the knee before the Almighty God? Therefore, you see, a certain destiny of the future can be calculated by their very commitment to death itself. We must only say to them, if that is your free will, die then, but do not take with you the living and their children. We desire not to see the contamination of these little ones, of the death culture, the death wish, and yet, little by little, this death culture is accepted as the norm. Every chemical that dulls the brain and the senses is a taste of sweet death. Every downward beat of the rhythm of the rock is the descent of ascension's fire. Every turn against the heart of God. So many applications of science lead the individual to death. The horror of death, yet the fascination of its horror. From abortion to murder itself is a way of life for many. And if they are not engaged in the very act itself, increment by increment, in their own world, then they are glued to the endless, endless scenarios of television or the motion picture industry or science fiction. And therefore the way that leads to death on earth is broad, and many, many follow the gurus of death in church and state. It is so subtle that many do not realize that common everyday occurrences are a little bit of the taste of death itself. Here you breathe life. Here you feel the invigorating pulsations of the earth. The fire in the heart of the mountain is not far, and as yet it is not disturbed. I say then, considering those who have made their vow, I am grateful that you have listened well to the understanding that God has already made his vow with the I Am race and sealed it with a covenant that cannot be broken except by man himself, who turns the way of the fallen angels. Let there be light. Let there be perspective. The invisible hand that moves the destiny of this nation and of the course of your life writes now the geometry of your soul. There are coordinates. There are stations where you must meet, other life streams. There are works to be accomplished. There are dreams to be gathered, there is a seriousness in the days ahead. From the hour of July 4th, 1981, I gave to the messenger 4 years to define the place prepared, and in that hour, this property had not yet been secured. You are the ones who have secured the down payment and one of 4 equal full payments that are to be made until this land is wholly secure against the ravages of the economy or the ups and downs of fickle minds and tempted hearts. Well, children of the sun, my gratitude I vow to express to you in your personal life and action. By your call to me, I will show you the plan of making your place secure, in or near this inner retreat. And I will show you how your life can be complete and full, productive, and how it can become a part of a great beacon, a statement that must be made by every available means of technology and by the chakras of your body temples. By this wavelength and that, by satellite, by television, by radio, by the heart's communication, by initiations here and teachings whereby you learn to expand the flame of the threefold light and send to your brothers and sisters in all lands the message of freedom. Why, if you choose, you can bring to a culmination together all that has gone before, that patriots and pilgrims have laid across America, that is about to be lost, but is yet to be saved by the lovers of Mother Liberty, by those who care enough and know that there are yet millions of hearts that can glow in this nation, if you can but add your own to theirs for a season until they learn to fan the flame and expand. Why the unsolvable problems of El Salvador, or of a city's police force, or of the crime rate, or of marijuana that hangs heavy as black sheaths upon our children. These unsolvable problems can only be solved by an acceleration of the fires of heart, by a willingness to meet God face to face. That is why we call it the place of great encounters. It is not for those who fear to meet their God along the way, or to be blinded as was Saul, until he received the new name Paul and was given his commission. Those who do not fear the consequences of their own karma and its challenges. Why has not our messenger shown you that she would go anywhere, do anything, submit to any burden, to balance that karma, so that we could have a finer servant? Well, she will tell you herself. She is not any worse for the wear and tear, but far better and wiser a bit. Blessed hearts, be ongoing, for many saints have walked the path that you are reticent to walk, to face the canyons and the deep of your own subconscious and the specters of the night. Why, just read my book, Chela and the Path. Gird up your loins, put on the whole armor, study the recipe for winning, And when you are all set and have all your gear, simply charge forth and slay every last beast, so that you will not have to come again and find still there a serpent's egg, and in it a serpent's tooth. After all, it is the tooth of sin that bites, and it must be extracted, as the whole beast must be gone. Well, as I have always said, the path of the first-rate chelas is to get on with it, to draw a straight line, walk in it, look straight as an arrow to the highest peak, and watch the gleam of the sun at dawn glisten there, and know that at the summit of every mountain is a diamond waiting for you to take it and make it your own. Oh, the wonders of nature and God in nature. But you see, many have gone to nature with drugs, with stimulants, for all sorts of reasons. They have missed entirely elemental life and the Holy Spirit. Nature is a great challenge. It defies entrance into its heart unless you come with a flaming spirit. In fact, beloved ones, the effect of this land upon those who are not ready is a greater densification of the human consciousness. It is exceedingly possible to become more dense in this terrain and life. And you see it in those of the people who live in this area. You might categorize some of them as narrow-minded, bigoted, small in their apprehension of life. These vistas and mountains have not taught them the lessons of eternity. They have sought to possess the land. They have been outraged to think that their land was taken from them when you came to town. But in truth, it was never theirs in the first place. They think to dominate others because they have not taken dominion over self. They meddle in the lives of our chelas when they ought to set their own house in order. Lacking humor, or even a modicum of trust in truth, they are little champions of the right. They expect to be invited to the marriage feast, but they have not a garment. They do not welcome our chelas, but they cry out when they themselves are not invited. Strange parody, this human consciousness. Do not think, then, that the land itself transforms people. People are self-transforming, and they have a way of outplaying their lives, going down or up. And they do it, whether in heaven or hell, or anywhere on earth. Therefore, what is the place of great encounters? It is a place where the secrets of God are locked in the atom. It is a place where those who understand the meaning of the solar fire in the heart can accelerate to a greater extent, if they have a will to do so, than those encumbered by 10 million auras interpenetrating and sending 10 million different signals. Is it any wonder you feel a bit heavy at the end of a day in New York, or Los Angeles, or Calcutta? Well, precious hearts, the place of great encounters is the place where you meet the mountain and conquer, else it will conquer you. These are the mountains, like the rock of Christ. One either places himself upon the rock to be broken by Christ, else in the hour of the judgment with the fallen ones cries out to the mountains to fall upon us, in a desire to somehow accelerate the karma and the judgment for the inner knowing that one has not compensated for one's misuse of life. Some are running like lemmings to the final judgment. They consider as long as it is coming, we may as well have done with it. And others are running to the mountain. We have built our retreats in the Himalayan fastnesses for the very reason that the mountains themselves are for the thinning of the chelas. And therefore, you see, each one must find his niche, whether the bird of the highest rock or the gardens of the cities. There is no condemnation. Each man must know himself and know his place of overcoming. And the striving chelas must realize that when they have scraped the ceiling of their present abode, and there are no further lessons to be learned or expansion to be gained, there is a place prepared, and this place, once only etheric, can now be physical because you have dedicated your hearts to making it possible, whether or not you yourself may make it your home in the near or distant future. You have realized that for some, this is a necessary leg of the path of attainment. And you have realized that one day, in the near or distant future, your soul will require this exact combination of environment, God's chemistry, and community. And in that hour when you have need, by your good karma, you will find that place prepared, here or there. Therefore, I express the gratitude of my chelas throughout the world on earth and in the etheric retreats awaiting embodiment, whose path of initiation could go no further or higher without this physical place of great encounters. And I come to tell you that it is indeed a nexus. And you have opened the door to the 7 Chohans for the meeting of the Chohans and their chelas. Here in this heart, and through it, through the tape-recorded word to many around the world, there are teachings which can be given only in this environment and altitude, and books which can be written here and here alone. It is my desire to see you who find your duties in other places, yet return to our heart once a year, to become more and more skillful in living with nature, self-sufficient, and understanding the balance of the base of your pyramid, including the physical survival, and thus the expansion of heart and lung and muscle and drive. O blessed ones, just as soon as we pull together the mighty oar of the building, we will accommodate more and more. And they will come such as you have not seen them come before. And I think of the ant and the rows of ants making their trek to the anthills. Well, our chelas are far more than robot ants, but they can follow a straight line from any part of the earth to the hearth and home and the citadel of our brotherhood. Yours are some of the first footprints, making that path indelible. I consider that you are the writers of history, and that history is being recorded in the rock and the mountain, and elementals, enjoying their lessons in reading and writing from the angels themselves in their first little books of handwriting, have asked their teachers as they are perched on these mountains if they may write the story of the pilgrims who have come to the heart. They are delighted beyond words. And for them, they have a new zest in learning their letters, these little elementals who want so much to be like you and to be a part of Montessori International. You see, all of life dreams and has goals and has a level of striving, and a little peek into the life of the nature spirits would bring tears to your eyes, for you are their hope. As Pulur long ago said, you are our hope. The hope of God is great this day. And I must speak to you again before I bid you adieu from this heart. For this is my welcome, and this is my love. This is my cup, and the beginning of our celebration. I hold you to my heart, each one, and in that embrace, in this hour, I take to my being the problem you have brought with you, the burden that you would like to transmute, so that you might do more for Moria. Blessed ones, we will do more together. This is my promise. May you always be blessed by the bread of angels, as I am.